Welcome to the Hans and Tristan podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Tristan, how you doing?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. You said I got a 10?
I see you. You look like you came from the beach or something. What's
I was.
up?
I was at like a makeshift beach, just a smidge, a little bit, it's still social distance, so I can't go to the beach. But I did go to Callaway Gardens, and it was really nice.
How was it? Like,
It
I've
was,
never been. I've heard about it, but I've never
yeah,
been
I
myself.
went twice, and then I had to go, and then I had to go take my baby, of course, because
Hmm.
my baby, she's clear. So I'm like, baby, we need a tan, honey. We got to work this out because you're not gonna be embarrassing me in these streets. So I took her out to get her tan, and now we all honey cocoa almond, honey. We ready?
Yeah, it's got your little golden almond tan going on. I
I'm
see
almondy.
you. Got your summer coat on. I see you.
Exactly. We ready.
Nice. Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad you got away because I know you stay working. So I'm glad you actually took some time and took some self-care for you and your loved one.
I'm gonna
So,
tell you how bad it was when I was packing my bag to go to the beach. I put my laptop in there, and then I was like, no, and I had to take it out. I was like, no,
I was
no,
about to say, did you end up doing some work while you were over there?
no. I took it out. I was like, Tristan, no,
Good job.
not. So yeah, I'm proud of myself.
Listen, way to practice what you preach. Because,
You know I'm hard.
oftentimes we always talk about self-care and we preach it and we say you have to set time aside for it and make it special. And we rarely do it because we're working around the clock. We always have so much going on. But it's great to see that you actually took the initiative to do it. I find it inspirational, and one day I'll get there. One day.
Listen, I've been trying to get you to get there for years, so I'm not even going to acknowledge that because I be like, bruh, you like, all right, but next week I'm like,
Listen, it's gonna happen one day. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna take a vacation for real disconnect. It's gonna listen, when it happens, you're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be shocked. Don't roll your eyes, Tristan. They
yeah,
can see you. We're on
okay.
video. They can see you. No.
Yeah.
But let's jump right into it. Today we're gonna be talking about Elijah McClain and the sadness that occurred last year that's being brought back into light and new developments with that. And we're also going to dive into um, relationships, but the aspect of boundary setting within the relationship, and also uh, I guess, the cons of not setting boundaries and what it can do, but just the balance that Black women are having to have. And I say Black women because I really think it's important to highlight the struggles that you guys go through.
Listen,
And you guys usually are underrepresented. So I say Black women, but I can honestly,
underloved, undercherished. Like, I can go on and on and on. All
I
this
know you
falls
can.
under the Black Lives Matter umbrella because you can't
Right.
go and be marching talking about Black Lives Matter and then you come home and treat your Black family like shit.
Exactly. But I also think, though, on the last topic that we talk about, some women outside of the Black spectrum can relate to, because I think it's a shared experience. But we'll get into that. But let's start with Elijah. So, for those of you who don't know and are under a rock, because that's the only way you wouldn't know, but it's been resurfacing, especially since all these protests have been going on. It's been bringing back to light previous injustices that have happened and nobody has done anything about. And the most prevalent one right now that's trending is Elijah McClain. For those that don't know, on August 24th, 2019, Elijah, 23-year-old, was walking from his convenience store back home in Aurora, Colorado. And during that walk, he had a ski mask on because he's anemic and he has to protect himself from the cold. Now, Tristan, I know you know something about that. I know my mom's anemic, so she always has to wear an extra layer. So this is definitely something that is not that's not abnormal for those who
At
deal
all.
with anemia. I know we have a coworker, who
Stay
always
cold. I'm like, girl, as I'm sweating profusely.
exactly. So
But
we
I
always used to have.
understand that that's out of my control and I accommodate, right? But what
Mhm.
kills me is the fact that we have to preference all these things because at the end of the day, you should be able to walk down the street wherever the fuck you want to walk down the street in without
Exactly.
having to get harassed or look suspicious because under all this, you're still Black.
Exactly. So as he was walking, someone saw him and said he looked suspicious. So they called 911. But interestingly enough, in that 911 dispatch call, the person did say it wasn't an emergency and that he wasn't doing anything. He just looked suspicious, which I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. But you know, when cops roll up, they see a black man,
But that
it's a
doesn't
different
matter because
story.
it's just like the young lady who was playing video games with her nephew, and her door was ajar, and they just did a wellness check. She ended up dying anyway. So
Hmm.
that preference, saying that preference, clearly doesn't matter because these motherfuckers come in guns a blazing any goddamn way.
Right, but it shows to me though that there's no excuse for the police. Does that make sense? It puts more of the onus on them. Is I guess that's why I preference it. It puts more of the onus on them, and it speaks to what we talked about last week. Well, last week or the week before in the subculture, right? The subculture that's in the police system and how they're taught and trained and what have you. But what to me was very striking with Elijah was just his disposition while all this was going on. So if you look up his case, and even if you just look up the hashtag Elijah McClain on social media, you'll get a rundown of like his last words. And they're very sad because he was still accommodating. Like, hey, why are you doing this to me? I don't have guns. I don't do anything like this. You know, why don't like all these words that were just to me still meek and humble while he was being oppressed, while he was being
Or
taken
being murdered.
advantage of.
Or being murdered.
Right. So, and then these
And then
police
on top of that, it's
officers,
like this man was like what 100? I think it's like 140 pounds or something like that. He's anemic. Like
if
so
that,
all that excessive force, and then he's vomiting in the process.
right. So what happened was, for those who still don't know, they gave him a ketamine shot to basically calm him down. But the
It's a
dosage they
tranquilizer.
Right. The dosage that they gave him was extremely it was for someone of I forgot what the thing said, but the dosage was twice the dosage that it was supposed to
And
be.
none of them were actually equipped to actually implement something that severe. I
Yeah,
don't care
from the
if it's EMS or whatever. Like you should not be in a position to implement anything like that.
well, from the transcript, the officer told the EMS to do it. So the officer doesn't have that right either, unless I'm
Right.
wrong. And fact check us, please, for those of you who
Unless
are
he
more
was
in the
a
loop
medical
about
school
that.
to be an anesthesiologist, and none of them fucking equipped to make that decision.
Exactly. So with that going into his system led to heart failure, which led him to be in a coma, and later he passed away. So this is being brought back to light. Like I said, it hasn't even really technically been a year because it happened on August the 24th, and it's not even August yet. So it hasn't been a year, and it's being brought back to light. The governor of Colorado has been pressured and has succumbed and ordered an independent investigation into the case. And now I just read, I think it was 2 days ago that I read that those police officers involved in that incident have been taken off of street duty and put on desk duty. How convenient. So I am happy that it's being investigated against. And it's one of the positives that have come out of us protesting and continuing to put pressure on these people. But the cynic in me, let's wait.
Because
There's
we
still
already
no
talked about
formal charges.
you're investigating yourself.
So, well, this one's supposed to be an independent group.
And
So we'll see what goes with that.
who's paying for the independent investigation?
Well, it's the governor. That's different
Exactly.
than local.
It's all, but it's all under the same financial umbrella. I personally don't give a flying fuck at the end of the day. And I tell people this all the time. I swear, like, I don't even understand how these parents have the strength. Because I swear on everything I love, if something happened to my motherfucking baby, oh, I'm burning this bitch the fuck down. I don't give a fuck. I don't care at that point. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't understand how these parents are even emotionally, like, they have so much resilience to even begin to deal with this and continue to fight a system that is so fucking corrupt. And I'm like, as a parent, I have to take my hat off to those other parents and those other partners and people. These people had children. Like, that is so crazy to me, and that takes a lot of strength and perseverance.
No, I agree. I'm not a parent, but I can't imagine losing a loved one and just taking it in stride, like they have. I'm like you. Me and my significant other, we joke all around like, if I die, burn the whole thing down. Ain't no pizza. Burn it all down.
I want you to arrest me because I will gladly do that fucking time with no motherfucking problems. And I'll probably burn the fucking prison down from the inside too. Don't fucking play with me. Like that shit is so atrocious to me that people even have the option to still go to work and have the option to be on desk duty after being so fucking disgusting in your fucking job. Like, how is it? I swear, police and weathermen, they're the only motherfuckers that could be fucking horrible at their job and still have a fucking job.
Why you gotta throw meteorologists under the bus like that?
They be like, oh,
what did meteorologists do to you, Tristan?
Chance of rain, and you be like, where, Sway? Or it's like, oh, it's gonna be sunny all day. Next thing you out there on a picnic and you fucking in a drop top soaking wet like Outkast said and shit.
You know, to any of our meteorologist listeners, I'm sorry that Tristan threw you under the bus like that. I respect your job. It's hard out here. These clouds move and shift in different ways, man. I get it. As an avid documentary watcher of meteorologic events like tornadoes and hurricanes that I'm into, I understand the difficulty that happens and how it's really hard to do that. Unlike my co-host here, listen, I'm with you. I'm with you, meteorologists.
I'm just saying.
But you cops, nah, I ain't with y'all, man. Y'all tripping. Y'all tripping out here. But what I will say though is that I'm all about digging everything up. Dig it all up. I don't care if it was the case from 1972. Dig it all up. I'm with it. Everything. I truly believe in that saying, what's done in dark will be brought into light.
Absolutely.
Dig it all up.
Like my grandma said, it always come out in the wash. It always come out in the wash. So at the end of the day, it's like, this shit need to come out.
Bring it up. Because
supporting and funding and my tax money, I don't have an option. My tax money goes to shit that don't even fucking work. Like systems that don't even fucking function as they should, but y'all stay fucking taxing me.
Oh, come on. They're always going to tax you.
Whether it's the school system, motherfucking, like, why can't I choose where my motherfucking money go?
That's not how they want it set up, Tristan. You know that. You know that.
I'm just, I be talking because I'm just like, at the end of the day, you get tired every fucking month. Not even every month. Every other fucking week, it's a Black person being killed. It is just so fucking annoying at this point. It's so annoying.
I get it, but I'm also with the digging it up because I want the country to see just how severe this is. Like, we weren't kidding. You get what I mean? Like, we weren't kidding. Yeah, we're not making this up. Like, this is really our lives. And this is why we have anxiety when we encounter people in those positions. This is why our hearts start to beat faster and our palms are sweaty. And you ask why we're nervous, because if we didn't do anything, we wouldn't be nervous. No, this is why we're nervous, because we always know somebody once removed or right next to us who has had a negative experience with a police officer or somebody in law enforcement.
And the reality is, like, even all these names that come about, I know nothing of these people personally. But the fact that it's so many fucking names, and it's not just in like one police department, it's all over. Like, so this shows me that the fucking system is broke, and not just the system in one state or one county, but it's the system in and of itself is so fucking broken because this repeatedly keep happening over and over and over. And it's like a fucking blueprint. Like, what the fuck?
No, I'm with it.
Arrest fucking people, because I seen you arrest white people. I seen you arrest white people without fucking killing them. I'm talking about
taking on the Burger King.
Thank you. Well, I'm talking about white people who actually killed motherfuckers. White people who shot up schools, churches, motherfucking movie theaters. You took them in without harming a fucking hair on their lily white fucking head. But Black people who are going to the corner store, going to get Skittles, going here, going there, minding their fucking business, sleeping in their goddamn car and just chilling, pulling over and still complying, somehow they fucking die.
No, that's facts. And you just actually gave the right comparison with Elijah, right? That happened in Aurora, Colorado. So for those who don't remember, Aurora, Colorado, also the Batman shooting of the movie theater, same area. He got brought in, no problem, nothing. This guy was just going to the corner store and it turned into all of this. So perfect example of what we're talking about. There's clearly preferential treatment on the other half. Clearly. There's a funny, well, no, it's not funny. It's sad, actually, if I'm going to be honest. It's sad. There's a video that I shared on my timeline on IG not too long ago. And it's about this guy who was basically saying, look at this news report of how this tiger, some animal got loose from the zoo. And they were saying that the police want to use bullets that don't harm it because they want to bring it back safely.
Oh,
And he's saying, I just want to be treated like that lion. Like, like he said, that's all we're protesting for. We just want to be treated like this animal. That's it. That's all we're asking for. And it's so sad, but true. But true. You guys
like,
literally treat animals better than us.
Right. Like, I'm not understanding how this animal gets treated like a human, but humans get treated like animals. How, Sway? How? And you can't tell me, but it's, oh, well, I'm not racist. Motherfucker, you're something. You're something. You're fucking something. And the fact that you can't admit that you're racist is the fucking problem.
Mm.
It's the fact that we sit here trying to motherfucking sugarcoat bullshit. Like, no. You're the fucking problem. We're not the problem because we're just being fucking black. We're just being what God made us.
We're just trying to live.
I'm just trying to go to the corner store and get me something to drink because I'm parched. That's it. That's fucking it. And that should not be a mission that I have to reflect on, am I going to die or not?
We don't have the luxuries as our counterparts. That's just really what it is. We don't have that luxury because what's the hashtag? While being black, right? Anything while being black
is a threat.
Is a death sentence.
Absolutely. It's a problem. It's a problem. But that goes into what we're talking about, off air in regards to, as black women, not only do you have to fear for your life in these dynamics, but you also have to fear in your own home and in your own relationships. And it's just like, at what point in your life are you not afraid?
You make a good point.
At what point are you like, it's so funny because I love hearing my homegirl and we wanted to go to the store and we had to check to see what time it was. They're like, it's a little too late. It's getting dark. We shouldn't go. So not only do we have to worry about, okay, we shouldn't go because it's getting dark or whatever the case may be because of the police, but then it's also, again, predators. There's no age as a woman where you're like, okay, whoosh, I'm safe. Like, oh God, like I'm in the clear at this age. Because from the time of birth to the time of motherfucking death, you're vulnerable.
That's true.
Preyed upon. And there's no safe age.
That's true. And I was just thinking about that. So honestly, if you think about it, as a black woman, you're always going to have to walk around with that anxiety or fear looming of somebody in some way, shape, or form, viewing you as prey.
And then, it's funny, like, then people be like, oh, the angry black woman, da-da-da. No, sweetheart, that's a defense mechanism. That's to keep people off our fucking asses so we don't look like fucking gazelles while we're prancing around fucking lions and shit. Because if you walking around and you have a certain, like, vulnerability about yourself, some motherfuckers take advantage of that. And it's sad. It's fucking sad.
No, I definitely see. I remember Dave Chappelle, he made a wonderful metaphor to encapsulate the experience of black women. So I talked about it before, and he was basically saying when he was coming up, he did a show, he got like thousands of dollars for the show, and he was just doing it for like drug dealers, and it's how you come up, you get it how you can, right? You get it how you can.
Right, and I remember you telling me they paid him in cash.
Yeah, they paid him in cash in a book bag, and he put in his book bag. So this is New York, you get on the subway. So he's holding to this because you could get got, like you could get got at any time. So he's on the subway and he's just looking and he's instinctively viewing everybody as a threat to the money that he has. And he said in that moment, he understood what it means or what it feels like to be a woman, because what they're sitting on is so valuable and everybody's looking at them because they want that. Exactly. And he said in that moment, he got an experience, a little glimpse into what it's like to be a Black woman or a woman in general. And I was just like, wow.
And that's real. Like, to be in a position where you always have to be on the defense. Like, whether you're going over a friend's house, whether you're driving to the store, whether you're going to the club, whether you're leaving the mall, like you always have to be on the defense and aware of your surroundings and aware of who you're with. And like, that is emotionally draining. And then, like I said, on top of that, it's some people who come home and they lay next to people who take advantage of them, who abuse them,
Right.
who treat
Let's
them
get
like
a let's get a little deeper into that. So yesterday or 2 days ago, a Mississippi woman, Etasha Brunson is her name. She's a mother of 5. So she was going viral because of an incident that happened on her social media. So what happened was her boyfriend that she was dating for a number of time, she just found out that he was married. So that clearly crushed her. So she went for a drive and she documented this on her Facebook Live. She had her kids. She has 5 kids. She had her kids in the car with her as well. So while she was driving, she was clearly distraught. She was clearly in a dark emotional place. And she started to basically hint towards taking her life and the life of her kids. So during this live, she's ranting. She's, sharing what's going on, how she's feeling. And it's been quoted that she quoted about, not wanting to take her daughter's life or not wanting her daughter's life to end this way. And at some point in the video, her phone drops and you see the car crash and, of course, the video goes out. There's also document footage from people who were driving by the scene who shows her car flipped over. So luckily, she and her kids, they just had some injuries, they were hospitalized, but nothing too severe. And then she proceeded to make another video while in the hospital. Somebody need to take her phone away. But anyway, while in the hospital, to say that, oh no, it's not what it looks like. I wasn't trying to take my life or the kid's life. I was just going through something, blah, 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 blah. Before we get into her, what I will say, what made me bring this up here as a topic of discussion for Hans and Tristan is when you search her hashtag, you see a lot of women who say that she gave this man too much power and that she allowed him to permeate too much of her mental space and her emotional space. And I thought that was an interesting conversation because it's a catch-22, like you said. It's a balance. You have to have a balance when you're in the relationship. And you saying that we oftentimes have to lay next to somebody that could possibly be taking advantage of us, to me, brought this situation to light. So I think we should discuss it, with this case with Miss Brunson as an example of what goes on daily, because she's not the only one.
At all.
She's not the only one.
I don't know not one woman who has not been in an abusive relationship. And I'm not talking about physically abusive, but emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever, like, and financially abusive. Like, every woman I've known been in some kind of toxic relationship. And sometimes some of them are the toxic person in the relationship. Let's be real, right? Women can be toxic as well. But at the end of the day, like, you can't sit here and be out here talking about Black Lives Matter, but then, like I said, go home and treat your Black counterpart like shit. You don't love Black women. You treat Black women like shit. And that's how I'm so sick of it. Like, I'm sick of this fake fucking facade. Like, I'm tired of this shit. You get so sick of trying to support a demographic that fucking hates you, whether it's white people or Black men. Because let's not act like it's not Black men who fucking hate Black women.
No,
but
it's
at the end of
real.
the day, you get it's so fucking draining. And then, like you said, it's a catch-22 because it's like you're saying you give someone so much power, right? And I don't think it's necessarily power, but it's more about entrusting yourself with this person. Because if you're trying to build a life with someone, you're going to want to give them your all. Or why would you even half-ass that anyway, right? But then you're in a catch-22, like you said, because then you close yourself off because you don't want to get hurt. So it's like, you become a prisoner of your own emotions because now you don't trust people because it's so much fucking foul shit going on out here in a relationship world and a dating dynamic.
No, I definitely agree with you. And I remember one therapist said that, to truly love is to make yourself vulnerable for heartache. And that's really what comes with it. But for me, I don't know. I just expected a different type of narrative to be, put forth when it comes to this young lady. I expected, to them to focus on the kids, which that's what I thought instinctively. Like, who has custody of her kids? Because regardless of what's going on, like
that paternal instinct was kicking in. You're like, hold on now. She
what's
still
up
got
with
right because she keep recording, but
right? She's still recording. What about these kids? Like, who's
but that's
who's
real. And I
doing
think
that?
that's what people don't understand, right? Even as you co-parent, like you and that person might not be together, but you're not understanding when you psychologically fuck with someone's head and they still have to parent effectively, that
Right.
hinders their parenting. And that's male or female, right? So it's not just a one-sided situation. And that's why I'm just real big on like why even play games? Why even do shit like this? Why even half-ass enter a situation?
But I think though what you said off air to me is indicative of how you go into it. So I know very back in the day when we first started to do the Hans and Tristan podcast, we talked about dating and dating while you have kids. It's different, right? So Tristan dating before Genesis is not the same Tristan dating after Genesis, right? Two different worlds, two different people. So I'm wondering though, and I'm not putting the onus on her because dude has to take responsibilities for what he did as well, right? You're clearly living a double life, sir. And you took advantage of this young lady. You definitely took advantage of her. But at the same time though, I do wonder if she took the necessary precautions of setting up boundaries. Because like I said,
And that's the
one
key component.
one of the things that I'll never forget, I dated a young lady because coming up, I was the type to say, oh, she got kids, I'm good. I'm good on her. I don't want to deal with none of that, right? But
That's
I
me now.
dated.
That's me now. He got kids, I'm good. Like I ain't got
but
my
I,
own kids.
all right. But I dated a young lady who showed me like, if you set these boundaries correctly, nah, you can do it. You can do it. And I just wonder if these boundaries were set. But at the same time, it's like you said, it's the catch-22. Regardless of where the boundaries are set, whenever you fully open up yourself to somebody and make yourself vulnerable, whenever they hurt you, whether intentional or not, it's going to hurt.
It's gonna hurt.
Because
It's gonna
because
take
you're loving with your all.
Exactly. And I think that's what people fail to realize, like you're gonna get hurt, right? Even if you lose your counterpart to, natural causes, it's still gonna
Yeah,
fucking hurt.
that's gonna
right?
hurt.
At the
Yeah.
end of the day. So the issue isn't the demise of this relationship. The issue is being able to cope with disappointment, be able to cope in a healthy manner with situations that do not always turn out. Because I know for a fact that felt like being punched in the fucking stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I've dealt with niggas and they're like, oh, by the way, you be like, what? I beg your pardon? The water
Excuse me.
in my face because how you doing this? But I'm confused, right? But understanding that you have to take responsibility for your own feelings and you have to be able to manage your own feelings. And I hate when people say, well, you allow someone too much power. Da, 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 da. No, you just opened yourself up to the wrong fucking person. And that's what it honestly boils down to. Like, you give to the wrong person. You give full access to the wrong person. And sometimes you don't know they're the wrong person until it happens. Like I said, I've been in a situation where I thought motherfuckers was like, oh, he the shit. Oh, he's And then it's like, okay, well, clearly that was a fucking disaster.
Right.
Like,
No, and it's hard because relationships are not a light switch. You can't just turn them on and off, right? You go through it. You have to process it. Just like when you got into there, right? Everybody has these boundaries and these certain windows of time limits of when they do things when they enter relationships, right? I wait such and such time before I invite them over. I wait such and such time before I do this. It's all indicative of the process that we go through when we're trying to get to know somebody and opening ourselves slowly to them.
I think I might be aware because I don't do that. I base mine off of like my energy and my comfort. Because there's some people I can date for a whole year and still not be comfortable around you. But then still setting up certain boundaries and certain things implementing, because you can put this time limit on something and people will play your time game. I've seen
but what I mean by the time limit is that of course they're gonna vary by partner, right. But the standard, you get what I'm saying? Like the boundaries don't change. So just like I know for you, just like I know for you, like when you deal with certain dudes, there's certain things, no matter who they are, they're not gonna do. You get what I'm saying? Until you feel comfortable. Now, the time limit may vary by person. Does that make sense? So I know you're not just gonna let anybody up in your house. So like some dudes,
my dogs are here, honey.
right. So some dudes, it may take 6 months. Some dudes, it may take three. It just kind right. Some dudes, they may never make it to the promised land. It just it just varies. But you still have those principles in line, those boundary setting in line. And as therapists, what I want to share to our listeners is that you need a set of that, right? Going off the vibe is great, but going off the vibe should be based off of these boundaries.
But you can't go off the vibe if you're not in tune with yourself.
That's true.
And that's why I try to tell people, like, don't do what Tristan do. Because Tristan been doing it for a long time, right? Tristan been in these dating streets for a minute, okay? And Tristan also knows how to properly assess people. So don't do what I do. And then Tristan is also not afraid to get her feelings hurt because, again, Tristan has the coping skills. So don't do what I do. But like you said, you definitely got to have some boundaries in place. And even when you get to know people, you still got to have those boundaries in place even after the fact, because the person you may have met 5 years ago might not be the same motherfucker in your face now.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that you got to stay firm to your boundaries. Because I be chopper styling these people out. Like, you got to go. I'm sorry. Like, you out of line. And even if I'm still cool with you, you will never have the same access to me as you had before. And I'll still be cool with you. I don't have to be a bitch to you to cut you out of my life.
That's facts. That's facts. I just think that we as therapists have a responsibility to highlight that at the end of the day, regardless of who you're dealing with, you need to have a set of principles that work for you, and that you have actually taken the time to clearly assess and why they're valuable for you. You need a set of principles when it comes to dating and letting people in your life. Because as you see with Ms. Brunson and what's going on, when you truly are in a relationship and you're trying to make it work and you're trying to make it flourish, you open up a side of yourself that you don't really give too many people access to. So if you value yourself, your mental health, your well-being, and then you're throwing kids into this, like I said, this lady has 5 kids. So you are also responsible for their well-being as a parent. You should really, really have a set of principles, a set of boundaries in line for when dealing with people in that capacity. And like you said, I don't like the fact that the narrative was like her giving him too much control, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be out here in a relationship where they have to be totally guarded.
But
that's a prison.
But
that's a prison.
The world we live in. Well, people will be physically intimate with you and still not be opening up in regards to their emotions. And that to me is so fucking crazy. Like, how in the world can you even get to the point where you're physically having sex with someone, but you are not vulnerable enough to open up and talk about your feelings with that individual? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just...
People do that all the time. That's why you got Tinder. What you mean?
And that's what I'm saying, but that's the issue, because we've normalized that. We've normalized that to the point where it's like, then we wonder why the divorce rate's so high. We wonder why motherfuckers got commitment issues. We wonder why all these other things, because we're not teaching people how to actually address their issues and make commitments and see things through. We're teaching them how to avoid their fucking feelings and still, in lieu of actual intimacy, just be out here fucking.
That's true. And also, we're not making the correct distinctions between those type of relationships and the difference between a relationship that's geared towards just sexual fulfillment rather than a relationship that has emotional connection and, involves other things. And I don't think we make that distinction. I think we blur the lines and lump them all into one. And that's where we get into trouble, because the relationship that you have with buddy or whoever you just met at the club and smashed or whatever is not the same as the person that you've been courting or talking to for months at a time. Those are 2 different worlds, 2 different types of relationships. But like you said, I don't think we do a good job of making those delineations in those relationships. And I think we are seeing the problems that come from that, right? We're seeing the ramifications. We're seeing the countless baby mama, baby daddy drama. We're seeing the abusive nature of relationships, which to me, I thought with the advancement of social media, would actually have a positive effect on that, right? Bringing light to it. But honestly,
it makes it worse.
it's making it worse. Like I'm
shit.
really shocked with that, because I'm seeing all these not all these, but I've seen a couple of musicians, rappers or whatever, who have been documented being violent and abusive towards these young ladies, and they're still out here just chilling, living life. And I'm like, we're just gonna forget about this? We're not gonna hold them completely accountable?
It's become normalized. It's become normalized to the point where it's like, yo, sexual coercion and all this other shit. That shit is normal. Like, and it's sad that it's normal. It's sad that we've normalized these things as part of our dating culture, because that's not what the fuck it is. But then we wonder why women don't feel fucking safe. Why the fuck should I feel safe if I'm sitting here at the bar and the nigga keep trying to fucking shove alcohol down my throat to lower my inhibitions so he can take advantage of me?
No, that's true. I don't know how y'all do it. I'm gonna be real. Like, I just don't know how y'all do it.
But it's so funny because people are like, well, Tristan, why are you so aggressive? Why are you so cutthroat? Because I ain't got time to sit and play with no fucking body. That's why. Like, because I really have to, like, there's no cookie cutter way to sit here and tell you, no, I'm not interested. Because even if I say nicely, no, I'm not interested, guess what? Now I'm a fat bitch. Now you throwing fucking bottles at me. Now you motherfucking, you was ugly any fucking way.
Tristan, where are you going that they're throwing bottles at you?
Listen,
I need you to do that.
Legit, this happened to me. Like, when I was in high school, I was walking down the street. Dude, was leaving the gas station. Me and my homegirl was walking past the gas station. Dude was leaving the gas station. He was a car. And first of all, he was too old for me any fucking way. But that's neither here nor there. So then he's like, hey, what's up? Can I get your number? I'm like, no, thank you. Fuck you, bitch. Toss the fucking beer bottle at me.
Wow.
And drive.
Y'all DC cats, man. Y'all wilding out here, man. Y'all gotta do better.
Listen, it's crazy that me not being interested is now warrant for you to fucking assault me.
Yeah, or you being underage, but we won't go there,
Honey, that's why I said there's no safe age. Thankfully, I was motherfucking light on my feet and I was able to dodge the ball.
Oh, you dodged it. Okay.
I don't know where your mouth is. You see him throwing fucking bodily fluids at me? No. Okay? No. But the fact that I even have to go through shit like that is fucking asinine.
No, that's true. I remember years ago, this young lady, she and I'm from up there, so I will take onus on that. New York streets. She gave a little insight of what it's like walking down the New York street and the amount of cat calls she got. And in my head, I was like, holy crap, she can't walk 2 blocks without like 10 dudes trying to holler. Like, you can't even walk to the subway. Like, now I get why chicks be walking so fast up in these Brooklyn streets. Like, but she twisted it on them, and she did another video. She was walking down the street and she was just hollering and being mad aggressive at these dudes, and they wasn't feeling it. And then one dude actually slowed down to have a conversation, and she was like, so why are you not feeling it? He's like, nah, that's just too aggressive. You got to be respectful of my boundaries. She's like, oh.
But it's you when you hanging out the window and all that stuff. Okay, bet. See, that's the thing is like, and on top of that, let's not forget the motherfuckers who grope you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my girl was telling me about that. Like, the amount of groping that goes in the club and just anywhere in public places.
Yeah. Like, are you gonna act like you just stumbled on my breast? Like you just stumbled like this onto my boobs? Like, really, sir? Like,
I just thought of a Kevin Hart skit, but that's real though. I just thought of a Kevin Hart.
But it's atrocious. It's just like, why do I have to sit here and be subjected to? Like, why do you feel like you're entitled to my fucking body and to me? And when I say no, then it's a fucking problem.
No, I'm with you. I agree. And for me, there's a fine line. Like, there's no excuse. So like, I know sometimes the environment lends us to change our behavior, right? So for instance, if I'm hollering at you in a corner store, that's going to be a different environment versus when we're in a club. Does that make sense? So
it's a different environment, yes.
It's a different environment. It's a different approach. Does that make sense? So at the corner store, I'm not going to be dancing and you get what I mean? Like, that's not excusable in the corner store, right? But if I'm in the club, it's excusable for me to get a little closer than I normally would, just by virtue.
That's why I dance by myself. I dance with my girls. Like
That's a virtue of the environment. But yet and still, I think sometimes we lose all types of like all types of balance and all types of understanding of you still need to respect somebody's space regardless of the environment and kind of what's going on. And I'm tired of the excuses. I guess this is what I'm leading to, because oftentimes I hear dudes come, well, if she wasn't doing this, if she wasn't, listen, I don't care how bad she's twerking and everything like that. I still not an excuse to go up there and physically, you get what I mean? Do all that. Now, what I will say is this, though.
Go ahead.
What I will say is this. I may get some backlash on that, but I don't care. If you got a dress on and all your titties are hanging out, I can look. That's all I'm saying. I get to look because you put it out there.
But
don't
look,
be
drastically different than you, again, acting like you tripped and stumbled. And
no. Yeah. I know we're talking about that. But no, but listen, there's some women out there who are like, oh, why are you looking? Well, listen. I'm sorry, sweetie. You got them out there for a reason.
Right now, and my thing is,
you got them out there. So I get to look. That's all I'm saying.
I wear my scantily cladded outfits every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Like, I be popping. You know me. I'm like,
you lying. You don't go nowhere. Where you be going?
Listen, when I do step out every now and then, I be having a little, shaboing.
Every couple of years.
Listen, okay, because I'm gonna do it. But again, that does not give anyone. And I really had to have a conversation with this dude because he really was trying to convince me that women dress up specifically to get motherfucking scooped by a dude. And I'm just like, so you're telling me when I leave my house to go somewhere, my main mission, when I get cute every now and then, when I put my lashes and my wig and everything on every blue moon, my main goal is to leave this house to get a man. And he really tried to convince me that was the case. And I'm like, absolutely not.
I think he has it construed with something else. I will say, from my experience, some women do get dressed up to get noticed, because certain outfits accentuate certain things, and I've heard it. Oh, I'm gonna get me a nigga tonight. I've heard it. Now, not every woman.
But my thing is, don't presume you that nigga. First of all.
No. So here's what I'm saying. Here's where he's construing it. You know what I'm saying? Here's where he's construing it. Getting dressed up so, you could be noticed and get fly and everything is not the same as being accosted. It's not the same as being, you get what I'm saying, growth. It's not the same of having your personal space violated. Does that make sense?
Right.
That's
it makes perfect sense. And my thing is,
that's not the same.
Me wanting the attention of being noticed.
It's not, yeah.
I want to be approached.
And that's what I'm saying. He's getting it construed because
and then
it's not the same.
It's times I get motherfucking fleek for my homegirls to notice me, because a compliment from a female means way more to me than a compliment from a male, because y'all be paying attention to shit half the time anyway. No, y'all don't be paying attention half the damn time.
No, you're right. I don't.
I know, because it was one time I had my lashes on and I'm just like, so you don't know my lashes. This a new cat eye. You don't know my lashes. You're like, ain't it the same ones you had last month? I'm done. But still, the point I'm making is this. Just because I put effort and energy into my appearance does not mean that you have the right. And this is what you're misconstruing. Because you're sexually attracted to me doesn't mean you have the right to fucking violate me. Doesn't mean automatically I am obligated or you're entitled to me. It doesn't work that fucking way. And don't flatter yourself to think that I fucking want you back. And that shit is so crazy to me that people really feel that way. But I'm tired of it, because I'm like, I shouldn't have to go to the grocery store and motherfuckers follow me from one aisle to the next aisle, or follow me out the grocery store claiming they want to help me with my bags, or come up to me like, oh, let me buy your stuff, give me your number. Sir, please, what the fuck? No.
It's a over exaggeration of things that they've seen, right? So oftentimes they think of, if you're not confident, if you're not, you get what I mean? If you're not having a certain type of swagger, as they say, these women are not going to give you the time of day. And what they have to understand is we're not homogenous. Not everybody's the same. So just like you said, when you get dressed up, usually you're dressed up for yourself or for your homegirls. That doesn't mean like everybody does that, right? So everybody is not set up the same way. So you have to actually slow down and assess the situation. And back in the day, I was talking to this dude, and he was basically asking how I was able to talk to these ladies, right, and have conversation, and then just not do anything. because they clearly want some more out of the situation with me and how I was able to do this and everything. And I had to tell them, well, the difference between me and you is you go rushing in. You go rushing in. I sit back and I assess the situation, and I can tell what type of party invites my presence and what type of party doesn't invite my
But then
presence.
on top of that, you also, and just me knowing you, right? You actually talk to women and not talk at women.
Tell our listeners the difference. Tell
it's
listeners
a fucking difference, okay? Like, I've legit had dudes who like talk at me, and I'm just like, one, you're not listening to my response. You're not even interested in who I am as a person, first and foremost. You're just making comments that you think will fucking impress me, and they don't. So it's not an actual conversation. Or on the flip side, I had a guy who just interviewed me. Which name? Which you like? Which favorite color? What's this? What's that? That's not a conversation. So you're not
interrogating you.
Right. You're not even taking the time to really bond. You're just trying to get all these questions out the way to say you actually know me, when in reality you don't, because I can tell you fucking anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the difference between you, because I know you, and a lot of men I've interacted with, right? Because again, you have these conversations, you actually listen, you actually give feedback, you critique, you tell them motherfuckers they wrong, because you tell me I'm wrong all the fucking time.
All right, relax.
And you also on the flip side have standards.
And that's what it is. So like, I'll never forget one thing I heard was just like, it's quality over quantity. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be bad females. They're everywhere. They really are. They're going to be everything. So if you're always chasing a skirt or, like this and that, what type of man are you? What are you going after? And for me, it's just always more intriguing to have a conversation. I don't know. It's one of the things that stimulates me. Like, it's like, okay, what are you talking about? Because one thing I can't.
That's why every female who hits my line loves you to pieces. And I'm like, yeah.
Nah, but
yeah.
It's the worst though. It's the worst talking to somebody who's dumb. Think about it. Like, you ever had a conversation and you're just like, are you even here? Like, what's
99.9%.
That is the worst thing to do, Tristan. It kills us. Like, we'll be like, you're a person.
I'm gonna tell you the issue I run into, right? Is not even just the conversations per se, but when someone makes you feel bad for being intelligent, and not being intelligent to the point where you're like a smart ass or a know-it-all, but just being equipped to respond to certain things with an intellectual perspective. Right? And you're no longer fucking doing the same shit you did before. So now it's like, oh, well, you think you better. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm matured and I'm trying to have an adult conversation, and I don't want to talk to you about the rap game and all this other shit because like, I'm sorry. Like, don't get it twisted. I love ratchet shit, but on the flip side, I can do it all. So to have someone who can be able to do it all, a lot of people, and I'm not even talking about men, a lot of people in general are 1-2 dimensional, right? And it becomes an issue when you're evolving and you looking around your circle, you're like, I can't even talk to these motherfuckers.
Nah, it's real.
Why you think every time something go wrong, I be texting like, all right, look, am I tripping? Cause listen.
Nah, it's definitely real. But it just goes to show though, like, oftentimes we're seeing the foolishness that's occurring because of misinformation, of people not taking the time to properly assess their situation and how they're coming off, when they're interacting with someone. And then, like we said, with the example of the woman from Mississippi, I often question, what was her baseline? You get what I mean? What was her baseline in dealing with this dude, and not putting the onus on her, because heartbreak is heartbreak. I can't tell you how to feel when you get your heart broken.
Standards as women.
Right.
Stop making excuses for our counterparts because they can't perform to our standards, right? Because I don't feel bad. Like, nigga, you can't perform my standards. Either one, I'm going to outsource, or two, you got to go.
And also, it does not say anything about you that they're messing up, right? So this dude who was living a double life, right, and was married, that doesn't say
he's really spending with you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, like, just because somebody messed up doesn't mean you loved wrong.
Right.
If that makes sense. If that makes sense. And oftentimes
we all love the shitty person at one time.
And oftentimes I see that, that self-blaming, that self-loathing, like, oh, maybe I did. No, no, no. Listen, you can't, I hate to put basketball terms on this, but you can't, don't do that. You can't, I can't, blame myself because you dropped the ball. You dropped the ball. You had the ball in your hand. I ain't had nothing to do with that. You
Right.
dropped the ball,
And the
so I
main
can't.
thing we have to understand as people is that sometimes you dodge a fucking bullet. Cause I'm like, I've been in situations where I've like found out motherfuckers were married, and I'm like, yo, I feel bad for your fucking wife.
Mm-hmm.
I feel fucking horrible for your wife. And yeah, I might have been a side bitch and I ain't know it. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, I'd rather be a side bitch than be married to a fucking nigga who cheats.
Facts.
So that's just my perspective. And you can always make something strength-based and make it a learning lesson. But again, you have to be able to cope with the feelings of that situation to be able to properly assess it and learn from it as to not do it again. Because that's what people fail to realize. Yeah, you're going to go through shitty shit. But are you learning from it as to not let it happen again? I ain't talking about learn from where you just shut all your fucking feelings down. Now you fucking hate the world. Fuck bitches get money type shit. Like, no, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about, are you actually learning and assessing so you can grow and evolve as to know, okay, what red flags was I ignoring? Because they were fucking there.
Yeah, and learning doesn't mean that you're blaming yourself. So even the example you give, it's like, okay, what can I use the situation for to better grow and flourish, right? What could I have done differently? Doesn't mean it was your fault. Just because you found something that you could have done differently doesn't mean that you are actually wrong in that situation. That's you actually being mature and learning from the situation so you can even have an even more fulfilling relationship in your next go around. So that doesn't even necessarily mean, because we often see that negative mindset when we're dealing with our clients. So just because you go back and assess doesn't necessarily mean that the demise of this relationship was your fault. You should be held fully accountable for that. So understand the difference between the two. Understand the difference between introspection and assessment versus self-blaming and loathing. They're not the same thing. So definitely want to make that distinction to our listeners out there. So guys, our time is up. We thank you for joining us. As always, hit us up on our multiple platforms, Hans and Tristan Podcast on IG. We are on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever podcasts are heard. You can hear the Hans and Tristan Podcast. So please hit us up. Tell us what you think. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends about us, because we need to be heard. Appreciate you guys joining us. Yes. Appreciate you guys joining us, and hit us up next time. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.